Well. Hello. Testing. Let me fix my audio as always. Although, I got my hair down for a little bit, but then it's gonna get pretty hot here pretty soon, so then I'll switch over to the headset. Plus, I need to listen to stuff, right? I can't hear anything. Hello, guys. How's it going? Happy Monday. July 20th, 8 p.m. I did start late today. Yo, we got low bass in the chat as well. Thank you guys. We got Fedorevsky, Kavai. Thanks for hopping into the chat so early. Streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, wherever you're watching. I appreciate it. Low bass. Long time no see. He says, how is you? Oh, something's broken. Give me a second. I think I need to fix my Twitch stuff. Every once in a while, something breaks down, and then I gotta see if I remember how to fix things. But low bass, yeah, long time no see, man. How's life? Oh, yo, thank you very much for being a resubber, man. You've been supporting the channel from almost like day one, I feel. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. You said less. Life has been crazy lately. Yes, life has been crazy lately. Hopefully. Listen, a little bit of crazy is never too bad, you know? But too much crazy, everything in moderation. So I hope it's not kind of tipping towards the there's no turning back level of craziness. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think I fixed some stuff. Let me quickly, hopefully nothing breaks while I do this. And then let's click on buttons. What you guys don't see is I'm saving the world right now as we speak. I'm clicking things, tapping away, and wow, crisis averted. Yo, what's happening? Guten Abend, Day Tour. Thank you for being here. Always loyal. Man, you guys are awesome. I always appreciate the support. And Kavai said, nice, 10 months is long. Yes. Low Bass has been one of the OGs. So you guys should also check him out if you're not already. Low Bass says the bot now has a full Pomodoro. Oh, you did one of those timers. Man, it's been a while since I did like a Pomo stream. I got a little too stretched in too many different directions. So I had to put a pause to some of the kind of the chill streaming I wanted to do. But maybe I'll pick it back up. So it has a full Pomo timer, co-working task manager. We used Super Sweetbot as a reference model for how we wanted to implement it. Oh, nice, man. Yeah, because that's the one that I ended up using as well. So I'm happy to be used as a guinea pig if you need, but just keep in mind, I haven't done one of those Pomo streams in quite some time. But man, congrats to you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another stream. Today's going to be a fun day. You know, we'll see how long I stream. I did start a little late, but the good reason for that is I finally finished episode 1 of my new travel series, my travel vlog series. As many of you know, I've been gone for 2 months. I was gone from the full of March and April, got back beginning May from a couple months of traveling across Munich, Germany, then to Uganda a couple times and Tanzania right after. And so I had a few awesome film projects and travel projects. I had the one that I've mentioned with CNN. So, you know, fingers crossed, but I hope I'll continue working with these guys. But yeah, I got to be a part of a really cool professional film project. I was just like a dude that tagged along, basically. But yeah, I did some camera work here and there. And so that was really wonderful. So that was in Uganda with the Uganda Tourism Board. Then I came back to Munich, then went to Uganda again to run my photography tour, where I took a couple of photographers with me for about 9 days across different national parks to see shoebill storks, the chimpanzees, gorillas, all that. And then from there, I flew directly to Tanzania, where I spent, I think, about 10 days or so being a photography instructor for about 20 different safari guides, courtesy of Asilia Africa. So anyways, that was all throughout March and April. And so as you can imagine, I was filming and photographing and documenting as much of it as possible. And so now, since I've come back home, I've been slowly chipping away at a lot of the content and working with my new editor. I say new, but we've been working now for a few months. But yeah, this is the first time he's helping me out with one of these travel series. So shout out to Himanshu. But yeah, there's a lot of work behind the scenes, guys, but I'm really proud of this latest episode. So check it out. I think I pinned it to all the chats I would love, of course, if you were to watch it, give it a like, leave a comment, all the usual stuff, because obviously it helps out. So anyways, that's the big news. I just released it today, and then we're already working on episode 2. I'm working on a few other small content pieces, but yeah, you guys should look forward to that. And then simultaneously, I'm seeing if I can work on the Sri Lanka trip, which is from 2 years ago, but I'm trying my best to kind of get through as much of the travel series as possible. Okay. Anyways, Fedorowski says, I came home again on Saturday, so it's been a couple of weeks since I have watched the stream. Are you still editing chimp stuff? Yo, Fed, well, firstly, hopefully you had a wonderful time. I think you said you were in Spain, which, by the way, I did watch the World Cup yesterday. As someone who still doesn't really know anything about, you know, we'll call it international football. But yeah, it was exciting at times. I was more thrilled by watching people watch football than watching football. So seeing how people I was at a bar with some friends, and like when people were going nuts and cheering and booing and all that, that was pretty fun. So, but yeah, was it like Spain against Argentina, something like that? But yeah, you missed out on a lot, but I'm excited to, catch up with what you've been up to as well. I'll share in a second some of the cool photos that I've been able to edit. Actually, I'll just quickly share it now. Look at that. This is one of the money shots that we've been working on over the past 1 to 2 weeks. Actually, let's see. Can we do that now? All right, we'll do a quick little review of all the photos that I've been able to edit from Uganda. So I'm starting with Uganda since this will be one of the first trips, or actually in episode 2 of my YouTube travel series. It's going to start hopping into the shoebill stork adventure, and then episode 3 will be the chimpanzees. So I'm going to go chronologically from there. So I wanted to make sure I can finalize and edit all of these photos in time for that episode, if that makes sense. Lobe says the Pomo timer feature is currently gated behind a pilot program, so only people who are in the pilot program can use it. If you want me to add you and you're actually going to test it, I'll go ahead and add you now so you can set it up at your leisure. Ooh, I don't want you to waste. I feel like the pilot, you're looking for people to properly use it, whereas my issue right now is my stream schedule. I've like shortened it quite a bit, and so listen, I appreciate it, but it sounds like I would actually be the worst person to provide that access to. I don't want to disappoint you by not, making the most out of it. The other feature we added, by the way, is a full feature song list, song request manager, primarily aimed at music streams. Oh, that's pretty cool. I've run into that issue with because I use MusicBed, so shout out to MusicBed. I've been using them across my YouTube videos and such, but I can't necessarily use it for my live streams, unfortunately, because they use like proper artists where there's like licensing issues and stuff like that. Fed says, yeah, Spain won. We watched some of the matches on a big screen at a mall with Spanish people. Oh yeah, congrats. That was listen, the better team won. That's all I'll say. As someone who knows nothing about football, soccer, whatever, I will say towards the end, I was stunned. They showed a statistic on the screen that said, at the time, I think it's like 18 shots attempted, or it was like 20 shots attempted, 12 on target for Spain, and Argentina had 0. The entire match, all the way until overtime, they had 0 attempts, not even like on target. We're saying like they never even attempted a single time to score a goal. And so I was like, my God, if you're an Argentinian fan, you can't, the better team won, right? The better team showed up that day and won. That's as much as I could say. As someone who's so agnostic, literally the only thing I cared about when I was watching it, I was learning players as the game was going. I knew Messi, of course. Everyone knows Messi. But I didn't know the rest. So I just picked 2 people on both teams that I could root for, and I chose the ones with the craziest hair. So there's a guy named, I kept calling him Coachella or Cucaracha, but I think his name is like Coco Melon. No, not Coco Melon. Cucarella. And then there's a second guy who, when my friend said his name, I heard Armenia Man because I was at a bar. It's pretty loud. So I kept calling Armenia Man and Coachella on one team, on the Spanish team. And then on the other side, we had Messi and a dude named Enzo, because Enzo sounds like this badass Japanese guy. Anyways, that's all I knew. And to make it entertaining for me, all I did throughout the entire match, And I'm curious if you guys do this as well, especially since we talk a lot about filmmaking and cinematography and camera stuff on stream. The thing that I found fascinating watching the entire World Cup was imagining the true unsung heroes and top-notch competitive athletes in that stadium, and that was the camera operators. I was like imagining the skill required to be like tracking you know, the athletes, the players on the field, switching between camera 1 to 2 to 10, slow motion, and like, you know, all of that. It was kind of fun just imagining like you got the best camera operators on that field to make sure everyone can see this around the world. So that's how I kind of found it entertaining, and the operators did a world-class job. So there's that. Lobe says, fair enough, I'll be available to every bot user soon. It'll be available. No, you have no use whatsoever for this song list manager. You're just telling it exists. Gotcha. Well, I appreciate it. Fed says, Spain only let in 1 goal during the whole World Cup. All matches, they were notoriously hard to score on. Damn, okay. I did really appreciate the goalie. Do you call it goalie? Goalkeeper for Argentina. Dude, that guy was like, he was putting the whole team on his back. So yeah, shout out to that dude. I felt bad for him, but you know, everyone saw he deserved to be there. So, all right, that's all I know about football. What happens after this, right? Listen, sometimes I'm a troll. So one of my buddies, he was super rooting hard for Argentina. So of course I gave him the obligatory, don't worry, man, there's always next year. And of course he couldn't help, knowing I was still trolling him, you still had the triggered response of like, this happens every 4 years. Anyways, I had fun with it. That's all I got. So anyways, that's what we've been up to. Oh, my cat says hello. So my cat says hello to Low Bass and Fedorevsky, especially since it's been a while since you guys have been on the stream. Kimpop has been in and out. Sometimes he shows up on the stream, but a lot of times he's been MIA going I don't know where. But good to see Nala's here, just gonna chill with us. So our custom Twitch desktop app is almost ready for release, just ironing out some issues with the browser slash search engine. And thank you for using the epic cat emote. I appreciate it. And then we've got this empty bed. Wherever Kimpop is, I heard him yowling and running around earlier. All right, so let me catch you guys up, especially you, Fedorevsky. I think you mentioned you've been gone for your travels. I hope you had a wonderful time. I believe you said did you bring like 1 camera, 1 lens again on this one as well? I saw one of your YouTube videos popped up, so we do have it up on the watch list. So maybe we'll start with that one. But before we do, let me quickly share with you guys. These are all of the photos that I've been working through since I want to say about a week and a half ago of streaming. So starting with this guy, it's been really fun. So one thing I've also been doing behind the scenes, and I've been talking to you guys about it, I've been recording on my end, I've been recording a vertical format of my editing process. And the hope is, or the goal is, I want my live streams to become content in and of itself. Like I'm trying to learn how to be better at being a content creator. And also, if I'm spending all this time editing these types of photos, it's probably a smart idea to try to record it in a format that I can publish quickly as a templated content concept on YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels or Instagram Stories, things like that. So that's what I've been doing behind the scenes. So every one of these photos that you see, I've been editing, and basically what's going to happen, I'm not going to do like full on tutorial style. It's just going to be like entertaining, like time lapse. Like you get to see me from start to finish, how I went from this before shot all the way to the after. And like showing, you know, like screen recording the Lightroom process when I switch over to Dehancer, all of that kind of stuff. I'll show some examples in a bit. But yeah, we went through some of the shoe bill shots. This might be my favorite photo. It's definitely in the top 5 or top 3 even. This shot of a shoe bill cropped in where I put it through Dehancer. I did my own presets and eventually got it to a point where I'm super happy with like the mood, the vibe that it's kind of portraying. Oh, holy shit. How did I forget? The other thing, and I won't spoil anything, obviously, but over the weekend, I also watched, yesterday, I watched The Odyssey. So no spoilers at all, but I think it's, you know what, I think it's worth watching. If you go and watch the Odyssey, I almost feel like you have to, if you can, you should watch it in IMAX. I've seen you guys, I'm sure a lot of people have seen like the comparison of like what a film looks like in IMAX versus like all the way up until like the standard film screen aspect ratio, but it's kind of crazy how much gets cropped off. So highly recommend watching in IMAX. I think it's highly worth watching. It is quite an epic, right? So it's fitting given it's about the Odyssey. But yeah, I won't say anything beyond that. I think it's just worth watching in theaters is all. Fed says these videos up now are from last trip back in April. I'm currently editing stuff I filmed on this trip. Nice. Well, listen, you know, more power to you. We're gonna watch it. It's lined up there. Yo, what's happening? We got Aviator Sunglasses over on the YouTube chat saying your stuff rocks. Thanks for sharing. Yo, listen, my heartfelt thanks to you. I think I responded to your comments, but I really do appreciate you leaving some comments on some of my random YouTube videos from the past. I very much appreciate the things you said, and don't think I just let those slide. I mean, it's a very much encouraging. It gives me a lot of motivation and encouragement to like keep doing what I'm doing. And do not worry, I'm not someone who cares so much about like, hey, we need to be successful tomorrow or like right away. I'm in it for the long haul, right? I'm here to hopefully keep building my stream up the right way. And we got, I can't say your name over on Kick. You're asking, am I trans Markiplier? No, I just have long hair, man. But no. That's, you know what, to be compared to Markiplier, I accept that. But yeah, Aviator, I do appreciate that a lot. It's like I said, we're in it for the long haul. So when I see comments like what you leave, it's a, you know, I collect those over time. And when we are successful, we'll call it a year from now, when everything's blowing up crazy, you guys were the OGs that stuck around and supported me. So yeah, I appreciate it. Low Base asked, how was it? I've been wanting to see it. See what? Oh, are you asking Fedorevsky, or shoot, I'm losing track of what you were referring to. My bad. Katzenell and Boggin, yo, what's happening? Good to see you on here. You said, I'm yet to watch your YouTube. I'm still procrastinating on my website. College is also back, so things are hectic. Do not worry, Katzenell and Boggin. The beauty of YouTube is my videos do not disappear, or it shouldn't, unless I do something wrong. So they're waiting for whenever you feel like watching it. So, but make sure when you do, you got to leave a comment on every single one as you know, redemption for not watching the videos yet. Nala says hi again. She's doing her little princess thing. Aviator says, not only do your photography/videography videos inspire inspire me, but also your attitude is also inspiring. Thank you. Listen, I appreciate that as well. I've been told, and this is one of those things I feel very proud and confident about, is that I have an attitude and a will of steel. Okay, I'm like an infinite optimist, and even if I'm stressing on the inside, I'm like notoriously able to hide that from anybody. So I kind of joke that I'm probably gonna have a brain aneurysm in like 5 years. Okay, no, let me give it a bit more time. In like 20 years time, I'm probably gonna just fall dead from like a brain aneurysm because I was like internalizing all that stress. But no, I appreciate it, man. Katzenella Boga says, did you watch some Poly B content? I did, yeah, I think when you recommended it, it was on the list. So unless I ended the stream early, we watched a bunch of those new, from the new, it was Poly B, and then there's another one you had recommended. So hopefully, we'll see if it pops up on my feed for today. I've got like 7-8 videos lined up. Lobe says, the Odyssey, you took so long to get to my message, you forgot what I was replying to. Oh, okay, let me reread what you said. How was it? I've been wanting to see it. Like I said, it is one of those movies where you're allowed to have high expectations going in. Usually you have to be, you know, wary of that, because obviously you can build up the hype, and then even if the movie's amazing, it doesn't meet your expectations. But the thing is, this is Christopher Nolan, and the expectations are already sky high, right? So there's no amount of like not hyping it up won't, you know, diminish the expectation you already have. So I will say, in many regards, it absolutely, in my opinion, meets the hype. It feels like one of those films that only he could have done. It's well done. Once it's been a while, I'm happy to go into like more deep dive and not necessarily feedback. Listen, who am I to provide feedback? But like just to kind of, you know, bounce around some of the areas, you know, things like that. It'll be fun. But honestly, man, you got to go out and watch it in cinema. It is amazing to watch. I will say though, it is pretty damn loud in the theater. It was like blowing out the speakers, I felt at times. So he raised up that sound mix quite a bit. Fed says, I still haven't watched Markiplier's movie he did of that video game. I haven't either, but I'm not like a big Markiplier fan. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff. I think I knew him from, what's the app that came out? Vine? Was he a Vine guy? I might have seen some of his stuff there. I'm not sure. And I just never saw his videos. And I'm not a big horror fan, so it just never crossed my radar to watch it. Aviator with the emotes and says, LOL, I bet the photography and videography helps the stress, so you'll be fine. I don't know if it helps the stress or if it adds to it, you know? Traveling is like one of the most stressful things you can do. Like just imagine like packing, heading to the airport, forgetting something, the stress of the airport, like the flight itself, being in a foreign country, not speaking the language. Like there's like so many things which I find thrilling, but it is like, you know, it's gonna take away a year of your life each time. Low Base says, I watched an interview. It looks really good, but I'm always wary of movies that get a lot of hype. I watched an interview Christopher Nolan did, and he said they developed silencers. Oh yeah, we saw a video about that on the stream. Basically, because those IMAX cameras are so damn loud, they had to build these like mufflers essentially so that they could wheel it around or film some of the quiet scenes. But apparently, it's like the first movie, if I'm not mistaken, it's like the first movie to be filmed entirely with an IMAX cameras. That's pretty damn impressive, right? So yeah, anyways, well worth watching. I might even go and watch it again in theaters. And yeah, man, it feels weird. Like, I'm not gonna go so far as to say it's the best damn movie I've ever seen in my life or anything like that, but it very much fits the bill for the kinds of movies I enjoy. I love a bit of like supernatural, fantasy, adventure, epic, you know, world building concepts. Very like, I don't know if ethereal is the right word for this, but I definitely like a lot of that kind of stuff. On the flip side, it is based on, you know, an existing source material, right? The Odyssey. So unless again, I don't want to really okay, I don't want to say much more, but yeah, there's already existing story that it's following. So unless he pulls like a Quentin Tarantino and like, you know, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and completely goes and veers off in a different direction, you can imagine it's some kind of adaptation of the original that's meant to hopefully honor it the best way possible. And I think to that extent, he did an incredible job. Fed says a lot of people have mentioned the drums being very loud and repetitive in Odyssey. I mean, no, it wasn't. I don't know if it was the drums. It was, I think it was more like when they're out in the ocean or in the sea. And a lot of like, there's a lot of moments where there's like crashing sounds and waves and shouting, fighting. And I didn't necessarily mind it, but I wonder at the same time, and it might not even have anything to do with how he scored it or the sound mix. It could just be the cinema that I was watching in couldn't handle the volume, or they might have maxed it out too much. So then the speakers were just like, it literally was just blowing out at times from how loud, you know, like that ugly crackling sound, or just like the sound you don't want when people are yelling or whatever. So maybe that's more like a cinema should have turned it down a bit. I don't know. Aviator says, well, I hope you live a long and healthy, balanced life. Your capturing of the world is worth it. Hey, man, I hope so too. As much as I joke, I appreciate. I hope it for you too, man. You know, one of the things I used to say a lot back in the day is that I aim to, well, the perfect loop is to always inspire others and to feel inspired by others, right? So like just a constant loop, and like if you can find that, that's like the best way to live, because you're constantly feeding the fuel, but then you're also providing it to others as well. So it's I think that's like the best way to live life. Fed says he did change quite a bit, quite a few things from the source material. I wasn't like super familiar with the source material, to be honest. Like it's been years. I think Was it Neil Gaiman? I think I read his Greek mythology book, but that was like maybe 10 years ago or something. So it's been a while, so I forgot a lot of the stuff. What I did do in preparation for the movie, I watched the movie Troy, which I never seen start to finish, because I'd only seen it like randomly on TV at parts when I was younger. So that was a good way to like preempt the movie, or watch it prior to so watch Troy and then watch it. I think that was a good way to do it. Yo, we got Cyronis in the chat saying, what's up, fellas? Yo, long time no see. Happy weekend. Hope all is well. By the way, Cyronius, I did get an update. I had a good chat with my contact about the wildlife live stream concept, the safari live stream. And it looks like I'll be targeting beginning November. So what are we in? Almost end of July. So we got August, September, October. So I've got 3 months. 3 months to lock my shit down in the sense of getting all the tech, hopefully securing the Starlink, and then hopefully doing a few pilot or like a few tests in Dubai and that kind of stuff. But within 3 months, hopefully we'll have all the tech needed so that when I fly to, it'll be in Kenya, I'll be able to stream right away, and hopefully everything works buttery smoothly and all that. So that's just like a quick little update. We'll catch up obviously as we need to. Little Base says some of the older movies were actually pretty good. We had to read the Iliad when I was in school. Didn't read the Odyssey, but we watched the movie, the old one. Okay. I don't think I've seen any of the Odyssey ones. Yo, the movie I'm most hyped for right now though is Dune 3. And I've only read the first book, and I only read it. I had the book for like forever. I just never had time to read it. I read it in preparation for Dune 1, from Denis, however you pronounce his last name, Denis Villeneuve. No, I don't know how to say it. Villeneuve. I don't know. Is it French? Anyways, I really enjoyed reading that book. I've never read any of the other ones, so it's all going to be new material for me. But man, Dune 1 and Dune 2 might be the closest to like a masterpiece I've watched. The closest I can think of, like we'll see how the third movie goes, but the best trilogy in my mind has to be Lord of the Rings. Like hands down, Lord of the Rings start to finish never drops a beat, never drops in quality. You can watch that now and feel like it was filmed yesterday, like everything looks real, because they didn't, I think it was similar to like Nolan's style of like not doing a lot of CGI, filming in like real locations, and like, oh man, the music score, the acting, everything, man. So that's always been number one for me, and it's withstood the test of time. But if Dune 3 ends up being hopefully as epic as Dune 2, then Dune 1 I also thought was amazing, but that was more like you had to do a lot more world building in Dune 1. Dune 2 is like where the action, like the payoff, right? Man, if Dune 3 is as good, holy shit, that's gonna be like, put that in a time capsule for the future civilization and aliens to see about our time. Denis Villa, man, I don't know how to say his last name. Even I know how to spell it, but in my mind I always think of Denis Villeneuve, and I know that's obviously completely wrong. Denis Villeneuve. I don't know. It may have taken 2 tries for voice to text to get that right. Dune 1 says Aviator says Dune 1 made me feel like I was having an out-of-body experience when I watched it. Yeah, those were like, my God, watching in theaters, that probably, man, would I put the Odyssey and Dune both equally deserve to be watched in theaters, is all I'm saying. So, Low Base says, I am interested to see how far they take Dune 3, because the books, they get weird. I've heard that. I've heard some things. I know, what's that guy? That character's coming back. The Jason Momoa's back and all that. I prefer the older films I've seen, and even the miniseries with Armand Assante to Nolan's version, especially in how they adapt the story, but there's some great scenes in Nolan's film as well. You're talking about the Odyssey. Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen any of them. You know what? I made this joke, and I feel like it shouldn't be a joke, but I did kind of joke that, like, the Odyssey should be a TV series that lasts 10 years, right? That would be the most fitting way to represent the Odyssey, to have a 10-year epic series. But, easier said than done. Okay, so Fedorevsky sorry, I meant to keep showing you some of these photos. So these are the photos that I've been editing. So we went through all these shoebill storks. Now one huge shout out and a big part of my workflow change as of recently is that I've been leveraging Dehancer for my photo editing process permanently now. Like every one of my photos, I put it through Dehancer, and I keep saying this, but it really feels like it puts the soul into the photo. Like it just gives it character in a way that, as much as I'm proud of my presets, I'm proud of like how I manipulate the photos in terms of lighting and color and stuff within Lightroom. When I then put Dehancer on top of it, I feel like it like gives birth to a completely compelling version of my shot. So all of these are like, so you can see all the before and afters that I've been doing. So yeah, these ones I didn't do too much on stream. I think these because these are of my clients that I just wanted to send to them. But yeah, we got some of the shoe bill. And I've been also getting more and more comfortable just applying grain across all my images and my videos. So getting like that kind of film look with the, although I haven't gone all the way, I haven't really been using 35mm grain. It's been like the 65mm grain size, which is slightly less noisy. But yeah. So then we got through some of the, so after the shoe bills, we went into the chimp territory. So these are some of the photos that I had edited. This one, oh yeah, so Aviator, thanks again, man. I think this is the photo, one of the photos that you had pointed out in your comment, saying that you thought it was like, you know, Nat Geo worthy, which is like obviously of the highest praise. And I do appreciate it. This one I struggle with quite a bit. In the, if you saw the live stream and as I was editing this one, I went through a lot of different iterations to try to figure out how to get this shot to look good. So this is like a super cropped in version of the original shot. I think I stuck the camera out the window. This is when the olive baboon had hopped onto the hood of our Jeep. And so at some point I stuck the camera out the window and took a shot of him. But it was like super brightly lit. Like he was very backlit. And it was nothing I can do about it in the moment to like get a clean shot. So I decided to go crop in. And then after I did a number of iterations on the editing process, I went with a super, super low light, dark kind of approach, a very symmetrical framing of the baboon. So I'm really happy with this one as well. So I appreciate that. Aviator says, I love your Dehancer stuff. I must be doing something wrong because Dehancer doesn't behave with me. Have you heard of SpectraFilm OFX? SpectraFilm. Someone else mentioned SpectraFilm in the chat. So, and also everyone in my chat is like way more knowledgeable than I am. So I'm assuming some of them might have heard of it. It's not fully, like I have seen the words. I just can't think of where. I can't connect the dots. With Dehancer, I can show you as I'm doing the edits how I'm using it, but it's been fairly straightforward. Like I don't change too many of the sliders or the settings. It tends to be the select few that I do over and over and over again. So yeah, we'll be doing that on the stream. Fed says there's Ulysses 31, which is a French-Japanese anime series from the early 80s, which follows the Odyssey story but sets it in space. Oh man, that's kind of cool. I feel like I haven't heard of that one, but I've heard of like the concept of like, oh, it's like a modern day Odyssey or things like that. So that's cool. Sets it in space on a spaceship, 26 episodes. Aviator says, dude, yeah, the baboon photo should be on the cover of Nat Geo. Hells yeah. Man, who's got the contact to Mr. Nat Geo himself or herself, you know? Like, just put me in touch. Come on. If you had that Nat Geo overlay to that photo, it would be chef's kiss. I haven't done one of those kinds of videos or photos yet, but man, maybe you just gotta fake it till you make it kind of thing. I'm pretty sure he wants my soul, says Lowbase. Yeah, this is a great shot. I was happy with it. Actually, I think I can show you guys the original. Yeah, so here's the original shot. So the original shot, the eyes were pretty focused, I think, or like decently in focus, but I had half my body out the window. I have the recording of this too. This has been a really fun addition to my travels, which is what makes me more excited about doing my travel vlogs and sharing it on YouTube, is now that with these action cameras, I have point of view. So you'll see when I like stick half my body out the window to try to film this baboon. So it was really hard to stay stabilized and still, but also you can see again the sky behind the baboon was just like really brightly lit, so it wasn't necessarily the best background. Plus you have this antenna from the Jeep, so that all kind of lended itself to saying like, okay, well then let's forget all of that and let's just crop in on just the face and hope that the resolution loss is not enough to you know, take away from the shot itself. And then because I dropped down the lighting, the exposure and everything, it kind of hides, in some ways it does mask away some of the imperfections as well, so that kind of worked to my favor. So yeah, but I'm glad you guys like this. Fedorowski says, I use Spectrafilm right now, I'm trying it out, it's nice. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Fed, you're the one who mentioned Spectrafilm, because you're using something else, right? Genesis, I think was the name, but then you mentioned there was this like free Spectrafilm thing that you were testing out. So yeah, so Aviator, he's the one to ask for that. My newest videos are all graded using Spectrafilm. You know what, speaking of that, let me go through the photos, and then Fed, we're gonna watch your video first. We'll put it on as I edit. Aviator says, I really wish Dehancer worked with me. I keep asking for free trial extensions. I'll give it another shot soon because of you. Spectrafilm OFX has been the first film simulator that I've jived with. Nice, nice. Well, listen, if you want to use Dehancer, just don't forget, I do have a 10% off thing. What is it? Exclamation mark Dehancer. So just in case, make sure to use that code, you know, don't forget. You know, I gotta be a businessman about it. All right, so Fed says, I have a lot of film emulators, including Dehancer and Genesis, and Spectrafilm compares well to those, and it's free, so it's great. Yeah. So then we edited some of these chimp shots. That's been pretty fun, but the best chimp photos are yet to come. I think it's towards the end of what we've been able to edit so far. Got another one of the baboons on a post. Yeah, here. So even like, man, Dehancer's been fantastic, but yeah, even every one of these you see here is, again, I put it through Dehancer at the very end. It just gives it a nice flavor. All right, let's skip through these though. Okay, so these ones turned out better than expected because I was shooting up into the sky of these chimps. So I expected a lot of harsh light, but this could be a shout out to Nikon ZR. It did a really good job of holding up in these like high contrast lighting environments. And even in dark, you know, the chimp is super dark, but I was able to recover a lot of, you know, detail in the shadows, even though, you know, you can see the before and afters. You would think it's like, oh man, this is like pitch black everywhere. So yeah, those turned out well. And then these were really cool because I had these moments when the chimp started walking down this like boardwalk. And so trying to get some moments where it was like pausing or in motion. Chimping, leaning, you know, like that. All right, the best is coming. This is really fun to photograph and film of these two chimps grooming each other. One thing I mentioned I'm going to do more of is trying to shoot in this like super wide angle aspect ratio. So I think it'd be fun to even make a YouTube video, like doing one of my photo montage styles, but everything shot in this super wide angle framing. So again, thanks to, I forget who it was, maybe it was Katzenellenbogen. Someone last stream had given me some advice, or like some YouTuber, oh, I think it was Cyronius, gave me some YouTubers who have done this type of like super wide angle photo concepts on YouTube. So we'll probably mirror something like that. Got a nice portrait of this chimp. And then here's where I'm getting into the territory of like, I want to send this to some of the lodges that I work with in Uganda to be like, yo, what will it take for you to print this out and put this in your hotel, in your lodge? And ideally, I have to think about this as a business model, but like, it'd be cool if I could have some of my photos in these lodges where they put them there for sale, right? So then anyone who's visiting can purchase it, and then I get a cut, obviously. But in the meantime, they can put it up on their walls. So it's like a win-win. One thing I mentioned for these photos, the before and after is like slightly different in terms of the comparison, because if you look at the before shot, this is the before shot. In my opinion, it looks pretty good on its own. Like it doesn't require too much tweaking to get it to be something I feel I can post on social or be happy with. And that's because I was intentionally shooting in a very low light, like in an underexposed way. And I realized a lot of the times why photos end up looking really good is because you, by like darkening the image. I don't know if that's just coincidence, but oftentimes when I do kind of underexpose my shots, it makes the photo feel a lot more artistic and more towards like the final product. So I don't recommend it necessarily to shoot underexposed intentionally, because if you make a mistake, you can't rescue pitch black. So it's probably always better to try to shoot in a balanced, you know, exposure setting. But this was really fun challenge for me. So Lowbase says, I've heard that Cloud creates an integration plugin for DaVinci. Have you heard of this? Because I've never edited a video in my life, but if Claude could help me do it, I would be interested in using it to make some community videos. I have not heard of this plugin. I recently plugged in Artlist to DaVinci, so I'm kind of curious how that works, because apparently there's some really cool features of Artlist with it, and I do have a subscription to that. But no, I haven't figured out how to use Claude yet for this. Aviator says, the results of your Dehancer work makes me not want to give up on Dehancer. I'll ask for another Dehancer trial. They're so cool about it. Hells yeah. Well, listen, ask them for another trial and definitely be like, oh, I'm giving it another shot because I saw this really cool YouTuber named YobelPrize. Definitely throw my name in there and they'll be like, oh, interesting. Okay, okay. But yeah, so these are some of the shots from the chimps. But the best shot I think I have of the chimp is coming up. This one, or not this one, this framing. This was for my YouTube thumbnail, but I think this framing is the one I prefer. And yeah, I'm just really happy with how this shot turned out. It's like very evocative, but yeah. Again, shout out to Dehancer. Obviously, shout out to myself. I'm happy. I'm proud of like the way I edited this one. I've been enjoying doing a bit more of a soft approach to my photos. So you'll see a lot of times I reduce the contrast on some of the edges. Sometimes I even like remove the dehaze function. I lift the blacks to give it a bit more of that feeling of sunlight coming through, or like light coming through. And I used to in the past make a very warm tone, so I would change the temperature, but I think my style's been changing a bit, so I've been preferring this kind of like cool lighting tone coming through, a bit more neutral, let's say. But it could also just because of the nature of where I was photographing. Since we're inside of this like dense forest or jungle and it's rainy season and all that kind of stuff, so I think given the wet nature of the area I'm in, I feel like adding too much warmth and temperature to the shot might kind of take away from the feeling of like you're inside of this rainy rainforest, you know? So that could have also played into why I've been preferring the cool elements to it. This is like the full, what do you call it? This is like the full screen mode, or like the without any cropping. Cyrone says the lighting is nuts. Hells yeah, man. Well, you can see the before and after. It should be coming up. Yeah. So this is the before. Do I have a before of that one? Let me see. Maybe, oh no, I wouldn't have it for this. But if you look at the original, here, let's just do it for this one since I have it here. Blah, blah, blah. Is this the original? No. This one, okay. So this is the original shot, right? So as you can see, obviously it's more like neutral lighting. Like I said, I shot it a bit underexposed. So there was a lot that I had to do and this is why I love editing, right? To me, like the editing process it's half the fun, it's half the job. I get an almost equal amount of a thrill from going through this editing process as I do actually taking the shot itself out in the field. They give different satisfactions for obviously different reasons, but when you're able to get a shot that looks kind of interesting, but it's like, it's just a shot, but then you are able to find a way to make it really shine, that's a thing that really just kind of gives that extra motivation. Fed, sorry, you asked a question earlier. You said, what's that 2.66 to 1 aspect? No, I've been playing around with 2 specific aspect ratios. Don't ask why. It's just something I had I saved a long time ago. I've been doing a lot of 16:5 aspect ratio. So this kind of like super long version. So I've been doing this, and then I've been doing 2.4:1, which I guess to 2.4 by 1 is more similar to like letterboxing for film, right? Yeah. So those are the two that I've been playing with the most on my recent photos that I've been editing. Oh shoot. Wait, no. I want to keep that. And then let's... a shot. Boom. Okay. Save these. Dang it. Lost my place. Where are you? We're towards the end of all these photos though. Aviator says, I love... Wait, sorry. Fed says, looks like some old movies shot on some of those now extinct anamorphic variants. One of those used 3 screens to project it because it was so wide. Crazy. Damn. Man, I have yet to even touch an anamorphic lens. Let's not forget how little I know about this world. Okay, I guess the term is LARPing, right? I LARP as a filmmaker. We're almost there. I feel more and more confident every day, but I have yet to really do any filming with like anamorphic lenses, manual lenses. I haven't even put on one of those like lens hood things to seem like, yeah, there's so many things I have to do. But anyways, we're talking about photos here, right? This is probably one of the hero shots. So I think this is probably also top 3 for me, if not number 1 or like close enough there, right? And the reasoning is it's just a very interesting pose that the chimp was doing. It's like a very loungy, casual, almost human way of like lounging on this, against this tree branch or roots or whatever that was. And then again, same thing. If you look at the before and after, in many respects, the before shot stands on its own. And so I remember when I took the photo, like the cool thing about when I was shooting intentionally underexposed, the shot looks so amazing right from camera, right? When you hit the shutter button on a mirrorless, you see exactly what you get and you're like, oh, this looks great. And you hope to God that it's not, because it's a small screen, so you hope to God it's not actually pitch black. But even if it is, seeing the way that when you drop the lighting, it really does obviously amplify the areas where the light touches and makes it part of the story. So Aviator says, I love darker photos and videos, easy on the eyes, helps separate subjects. Yeah, and I think it's probably almost like a universal truth, I feel, for photography. I'm kind of exaggerating, but generally speaking, if you think of like what is photography, it's obviously about visuals, right? And when it comes to visuals, I think everything is about light and shadows. So it doesn't mean your shot has to be dark, but in order to have yeah, like if you want a shot that really plays with lights and shadows, it probably means there's going to be a lot of your a lot of the parts of your shot will probably be in the dark, right? So when you're trying to balance between light and shadows, I feel like that probably means your shot will look better if it's a bit more darker, more dark. I just said a bunch of things. I don't know how true it is, but I've noticed myself, like when I drop the exposure, that tends to be, it's like you look at a neutral shot and there's light everywhere, and the problem is that it kind of hides what really matters. And the moment you, even if it's like evenly drop the exposure, what gets left behind is the areas that you're like, oh, that's the real focus. It's like if you were draining a swimming pool, or if you're draining a pool in general, and what remains is like, you know, the things that people left. I don't know, whatever analogy. Think of a cool analogy and replace whatever I just said. Aviator says, oh, and then this shot also I think ended up, because I added a bit more of that faded look, so now you got super soft light. So I mean, both have that effect, but I think for some reason I like this one a lot because the chimp's looking at the camera. This one also has its own flavor. I did a bit more of that wide angle. What did I shoot? I think this one was 2.4 by 1, but chimp is not looking directly at the camera, but it feels more stoic in that sense. It's looking off camera, and the lighting again kind of just glows off parts of the face, creating a nice balance. So this one also I'm a huge fan of. Aviator says, I can't take it. Please reach out to Nat Geo with your work. They are missing out by not having you. This is outstanding. At the very least, they can contract you for specific things. Yeah, man, listen, you know, wishful thinking. I mean, I say that, and I've put this on my to-do list. I haven't actually gotten to it yet. You have to make your own luck. You have to create your own opportunities. There's a number of people I'm supposed to reach out to just to be like, to put my name in out into the world of saying like, hey, I would like to work with you. I'd like to work on projects with you, things like that. So you're 100% right, Aviator. I have no one else to blame but myself if I don't put my name out there or reach out. I should do that. I will. Fed says 2.4 by 1 is digital cinema scope. Wider than that is unusual nowadays, but Tarantino did the 2.76 by 1 on Hateful Eight to mimic the ultra wide aspect of some old 50s Western. Yeah, we saw some videos on YouTube breaking that down. I forget the actual specific style that was. Got some vertical ones just to mix it up a bit. 2.76 by 1 is Ultra Panavision 70. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the wording. How the West Was Won is 19. Oh, 9. I think you're saying 1960. 9 from 1962 is a 2.59 by 1 using that 3-strip Cinerama method. Gotcha. Man. Okay, I think we're almost to the end of this. All right, here we go. So then that was the end of the chimp photos. So what we started to do on my last stream was editing the photos, related to when I was traveling. We took a flight from chimp territory to get to gorilla territory. So gorilla territory is higher up in the mountains, and it's much more dense rainforest jungle style. So on the drive up, I started to photograph moments passing by. It's one of my favorite things to do when I'm traveling. It's just like capture like people moments, candid moments, especially from like a drive-by style. Not to call it a drive-by shooting per se, but in a ways it is a style of drive-by shooting. And yeah, and then the cool thing is every one of these photos, I have an accompanying video. Same thing I mentioned earlier. I've been filming a lot of the behind the scenes with those POV cameras. So every time I took this photo, you'll note that I have a recording of me actually shooting that moment as it was passing. So these will be part of my upcoming YouTube videos. So similar to the YouTube video I had posted, I think a month ago, about the street photo and street video challenge in Munich. That was a lot of showing shots from the Osmo Nano, my front facing, like from my point of view shots. As you see me lift the camera up, see a moment, and then shoot it, and then switching over to actually show you the final product. I'll be doing a lot of that for my upcoming travel vlogs because I really do enjoy being able to shift around the perspective that way. As a solo traveler, that's like almost the only way I can do it anyways. Okay, so this is where we ended. So now we got to continue from here. Blah, blah, blah. So that's the last photo we worked on. So now we'll work on maybe this one next. In the meantime, finally, we're doing some proper work. All right, we've been in catch-up mode. We've got plenty of YouTube videos to watch. Since we got Fedorevsky in the chat, let's watch yours first. Is it this one? There it is. Perfect. And I'm going to put the headphones on now so I can actually hear things. Oh. As I do that, let's say hi to Nala. The autofocus went to the little toy. Nala, you want to say hi? Good girl. Let's see if the autofocus catches you. Okay, hold on. Maybe I gotta... Is the focus on you yet? Alright, whatever. Ooh, side notes. Something I've been really enjoying in my free time, besides chess, is the video game called Pal World. Pal World? Oh man, that's a terrible name for a game. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Pal World. That's been really fun. And I think, I don't know, we've been joking on stream before. I think I have some level of autism is the wrong, again, I feel like it's too many people say it, but it does feel like one of those games that's meant for people who just love doing monotonous things over and over and over again. So if you're someone who loves to just sit down and edit photos for, you know, hours on end, or do the same task, most mundane task over and over again, Pal World is for you. Because it's like all you're doing is catching different Pokemon basically, and then you're like chopping trees and you know, collecting materials to keep building up your base, and it's just like that over and over and over again. Like I find it so therapeutic. Anyways, not that anyone asked, but that's the video game that I've been enjoying. Okay, so we got this. Let's go ahead and watch. So shout out to Fedorevsky here. Cañada del Molino. What does that mean? This is in Spain, I'm assuming? But they have the word Canada. What does Cañada mean? What is Cañada in Spanish? Okay, it's not showing up. Oh, is it Portuguese or something? I don't know. Okay, Portuguese. Canada. All right, doesn't matter. I stopped caring. All right, let me pause the music. We're gonna now start grinding away. Let's do some photo edits. Let's watch some chill videos, and then yeah, get shit done. The video is graded with Spectrafilm. Oh, there you go. So for Aviator, you'll see some examples. I apologize, it's on a tiny screen because this is the best compromise I can come up with, where I can put the YouTube video on screen while I still can edit my photo as big as possible on my monitor. So actually, okay, for a second though, let's put this over. So Aviator, whoops. So this was graded with Spectrafilm. It's the area in Torrevieja. I filmed this video, gotcha. I'm gonna put on speed mode. Yeah, that's fast. This is with the Nikon ZR, yeah? I do really love the dynamic range on the ZR. Man, what a derp face. I also love traveling just to photograph cats. That used to be one of the things I did all the time, especially in like Turkey. Turkey was one of the best places where if you just want to photograph the most beautiful cats, like street cats, go to Turkey. They're everywhere and they're all well fed. There's no, they're well taken care of and stuff. So this is Spectrafilm. Nice, nice. Let me just put this back and full screen it. We're going to put this on the side. All right, and I got to record. All right, here we go. Aviator says very cool, and Fed says yeah, Nikon ZR 4K APS-C. Because of your lens, I think maybe. APS-C red with the 18 to 140 millimeter Nikon lens. Gotcha. Well, nice, man. Now, I don't know if I've always done this. Sometimes I just mix it up. But of late, what I've been enjoying doing when I'm editing a photo from scratch, one of the first things I like to do is just play with the cropping. So before I go too deep into the photo edits, I just want to and I usually look at this navigator in the navigator section on the top left. I use the thumbnail there to quickly get a grasp of if a cropping looks good or not. And then I just literally move it around. So this is generally like one of the first steps I go through so that I can just kind of visualize what might be the good, like one of the best ways to find a story in the image. And one thing I get more and more comfortable with, because this is like, it's a free-for-all. You can go as crazy as you want. Yo, thank you very much. Thank you over on the YouTube side, Danushka, Weira Sikara. Thank you very much for subbing over on YouTube. Hey, we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Thank you for reminding me as well. When I say we're almost there, I mean we are almost at the coveted 10K subscribers on YouTube. Less than 50 subs to go. Okay. Nothing will change once that happens. Besides, in my mind, it'll be a nice little milestone. But we're almost there. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone who keeps supporting. Aviator says, oh sorry, Fed mentioned it's half the bit rate and half the rolling shutter, so I love the APS-C mode. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I tend to always shoot with the biggest file size, which is not fun at all. Aviator says, nice music choice as well. Yes, I agree. Aviator says, your cropping skills are inspiring. I never crop. So cool. Hey, well, listen, if I can help out in any way with how you do the creative process, that's what I'm here for, vice versa. But yeah, like I tend to do this just because like, and especially if you have powerful cameras. So I was shooting with the Nikon ZR, which is not as powerful as like in the past when I would shoot with like a D810 or a D850 or a Z9, where you have a lot more megapixels to play with. So I can like really punch in on my shots. But even then you would, how do I say this? You'd be surprised by how well these photos will hold up, even if you crop in quite a bit. Because like nowadays, you also have really good editing software that can help remove a lot of the noise, bring back some of the sharpness and all that kind of stuff. So even here, I don't know how much we're cropped in at this point, but we're well beyond the 100% we're allowed. So, but even then, this is like a decent story here that could be told. Like if we wanted to, we could actually punch it in like this. And I actually think I will. We're going to create multiple versions of this photo. Same thing I mentioned before. I want to create a whole series of shots that are in the super wide 16:5, and then some photos that are designed for the 2.4:1, and then if it makes sense, keep it in its original 3:2 or 16:9 or something a bit more full screen like that. So we're gonna play around with it. For now, I just want to see in my mind's eye what are some potential options here to play with. And don't forget also, you can play around with like vertical. So sometimes vertical these days, like let's say on Instagram, it could mean a 9:16, but it could also mean like a 3:4, because I think 3:4 is the current tallest aspect ratio for like, photo posts, things like that. So yeah, anyways, this is kind of where I get to experiment, see the different ways that the shot will look good. And this could just be my nitpickiness, but generally speaking, you want like super clean. So if I have even a sliver of like this blurriness on the side here, generally speaking, I would like to either mask it away or just crop it out entirely. But yeah, like I said, you just kind of check out different modes. You're like, okay, if you want to just do a proper vertical shot of these guys, you could do that. I'm leaning more towards landscape in general, so we're going to go back to 2:3 or maybe a 16:9. So let's go to 16:9. And I don't want to lose too much of what we've got. I just want to see what we can play with. Now the image isn't tall enough to, like 16:9 might not work for this shot potentially as is, because right now it's like heavily weighted over on the right side. I say heavily, but the road is twisting off to the right. There's a blurry subject in the top right, and then like in the left quadrant, or like the left pillar, is not much going on there. So it does feel a little bit out of balance if I were to crop it like this. It's like way too weighted to the right. However, if I start cutting it out from the left, we don't have enough space to maintain the entirety, like to fit the entire bike and the people without cutting. Which is like, again, this is why I'm kind of leaning towards like maybe it's better to do this kind of a cropped in approach. So who cares? You don't need to see the entire motorbike. It's more showing what's drawing the attention is obviously these three people on a bike here and then someone off in the distance. So I do think probably we're going to want to keep it punched in. But for now, let's just keep it at 2:3. Let's just do the original shot. And then I'll crop in once we've locked in the actual edits. So there you go. What would A Gross? Yo, what's happening? A Gross says, what would you say your breakup of photo versus video is, and which did you start with? Also, your 5-camera rig is pretty slick. Oh, thank you very much for watching that video. I hope you left a comment on that video as well, because obviously that helps. Every little thing helps. Okay, but thank you very much for coming here and letting me know that, man. I was kind of proud of myself for figuring this out. It's a real challenge. It's a real challenge having done a number of chimpanzee treks and gorilla treks up to this point. But prior to that trip, I'd gone through the ringer when it comes to like, how do you photograph chimpanzees and gorillas in a dense forest environment where it's oftentimes low light, oftentimes you just don't know. Maybe the chimp or the primate might be like in your face, and other times it's up in the treetops. So like, what lens would work for that while letting in enough light and allowing enough flexibility? So there's just like all kinds of things that's always a struggle, especially if you're only carrying one camera. And then it's like, okay, if the time it takes to swap out lenses, the moment's gone. There's just too many things that happen last minute or like just in real time. So I knew that I wanted to somehow play around with a bit more action cameras. I did a few last time, and now I wanted something a bit more powerful and more intentional. So I put a lot of thought into that, trying to figure out like, okay, what is the best way and which camera works for what reason. So the Action 6 made sense to have like a low profile on the shoulder to catch like something that will last almost the entire trip. Like usually the Action 6 and the Osmo 360, they can last like, 2-3 hours depending on if it's too hot or if it's the right temperature. So those were just like the always running cameras to capture everything in at least 4K, whatever. Then the 360, even when I figured out where to place it, and I was like, okay, I put it on the side of this camera, and then when it's on the cotton carrier in the front, then it doesn't matter if I twist the cameras around, it's always capturing 360. So anyways, I was really happy with this. So thank you very much. I'm glad you watched it. Agro says, I will go back and leave a comment. Thank you. Peer pressure works, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate that. The music is from Pixabay, says Fed to Aviator. Oh, and then sorry, to respond to your actual question, what would you say your breakup of photo versus video is, and which did you start with? Up until like 2 weeks ago, because I've been really focusing on these photo edits, because one, I'm trying to see by recording each of these photo editing process, I want to see if there's something there in terms of a template that I can create content on social media easily. So right now I am focusing a lot more on the photos, and also because I've already kind of edited all the video files from this Uganda trip. So I need to catch up and edit all the photo files. So when I post each subsequent episode from this travel vlog series, I'm caught up. So it's been a bit more heavy on the photo side. But if I were to say in the past 2 to 3 years, I have shifted away from photography and being more of a cinematographer, filmmaker, videographer, whatever you want to call it. My camera is always in video mode first, basically. And then photos just becomes like the secondary piece. So now I've leaned more towards video, but I did start off in photo. So photography was where I, buttered my bread, kind of, I guess. And now I'm in the world of cinematography. Thank you for your question. All right, let's keep editing, and we'll watch this video. And then usually the next step, just finish the thought. I sometimes will play around with some of my presets, like the masking presets I have. So like separating the subject from the foreground, foreground from the background, things like that. But also this is where I just kind of, listen, I spent the time to create all these presets. So I'm here to not reinvent the wheel, right? So I want to kind of run through all of my presets to see if something sticks. Is there something about the way I edited or one of these presets really hits the photo? So this is where I get my inspiration from my previous inspiration, right? So then I'll just hop around, see the different coloring, the different, whether it's a bit more brightly lit, if it's a bit more focused on certain tones of color shades or whatever. And then until something hits, and I'll usually just click on the preset and work from that foundation. And then I'll do a little bit more custom masking as needed. And that's where I do a lot more like shaping the light. So I try to figure out the directional light that I want to place into the photo, things like that. And then the final step is dehancer, and that's just been fun. Usually the final step. Sometimes I come back and do a bit more afterwards, but yeah. So anyways, I'm going through my presets now. Let's keep watching. Fed says the music sounds comedic when faster. I like it. Fed, what frame rate were you normally shooting in? Do you do a lot of slow motion? I'm trying to think. I don't think I've seen you do a lot of slow motion stuff. But then again, a lot of the shots you do tends to be more about like slow moving, right? Like the main character, like the actor tends to move slowly to kind of fit the vibes. But I'm curious what you shot mostly in, frame rate wise. All right, this one lost a bit too much texture, so I'm gonna bring it back. It's a little bit too soft for me. So. Alright, this is good enough pace. So let's move to the dehancer for now. These shots, I'm not trying to make magic here. Usually for the wildlife photos, I'm a bit more particular with like how do we get like the best hero shot, the Nat Geo worthy shots. For most of these kind of people shots, I'm a bit more forgiving of like, I just want it to look nice, but it doesn't have to be like, you know, printing this and framing it on the wall type thing. But hey, look at this dehancer effect. Already this is the last edit that I did, and it looks nice on this shot as well. So we'll keep that in mind. We're going to play around with it a bit more. Fed says, no, I rarely do slow motion, just regular 24. Gotcha. So Aviator, in case you're still watching, just I'll talk this out. So this is where I've opened up Dehancer from Lightroom. One thing I will say, something that I wish Dehancer could change is doing a bit more of like batch editing. Right now, as far as I know, it's like you can only edit one photo at a time. And each time I have to like open it up, and then it opens into the plugin, I edit, and then I exit, and then it'll save. One issue also on top of that is, yes, I can save my presets, but I wish there's a way that I could review the photos. Let's say I've edited a photo with Dehancer. If I don't remember or write down what settings I chose, like what kind of film profile or what did I do with the grain or vignette, if I don't save that, I don't know how to find it in the metadata. So it's almost like lost to time. Unless I can recreate the results and write it down, I'll never remember what settings did I apply to this photo within Dehancer. And the only reason it's like, most people shouldn't care about this, but if I make more YouTube videos where I show the photos with the Dehancer effect, it'd be good if I can put like in the lower thirds, like here's the information. I use this setting, I use this preset, blah, blah, blah. So it's just like a more for me something I wish they would add. Fed says, I'm sure they're going to add that because most people will want that. Oh, you're probably talking about the batch edits. Yeah. Oh, that'd be so nice. Oh, wait, hold on. So yeah, so what happens is once I open up Dehancer here, you can see there's a few presets that I've already saved. I should make more every single time, but these are some of the presets that have worked for me in the past with like different effects placed on it with different film stock profiles, whatever. So this just makes it easier for me to kind of go through, but I also enjoy going through like start to finish. So if I want to start from scratch, I just click on the one that says original over here. So then it removes any of those changes. Then I go to the films tab and I activate it. So once I click on the checkbox, now it's opened up all of the film profiles. And then I just kind of go through it. And the good news is there is a nice shortcut keyboard here where if I just use the up and down arrows, it lets me just immediately go through each of the profiles. So then that's so much easier than having to like click through each one. So I can very, very easily see how each one changes. My eye stops on this one. So yeah, it's the Fujicolor Natura 1600. I think I've been pausing on that one quite a bit. So let me go ahead. I can also favorite them. So I just put a little heart on it. So for future reference, this one looks clean. This one, yes, I think the Superior is the one I've been leaning towards more and more. So this one's slightly darker version than the Superior. I don't do a lot of black and white. This one I know what it is. It's the Kodak Aero Color 4125. I think that's the one I end up using the most. I really like this look. But then I just keep going, see if something sticks out to me. And then if not, I sometimes will just kind of compare between two examples. I also kind of like these like monochrome style shots. What is this one? Lomochrome. Okay. So yeah, I get to make a decision. Do I want to prefer one that's a bit more vibrant, or do I go with a bit of a more muted tone? But generally speaking, like I said, I quite like the Kodak Aero Color. So we're going to start with this as the base. So then once I click on it, then all of my edits happen on the right side. It's pretty straightforward, man. Honestly, it's like, because then from here, I don't even touch anything on the top usually. I will go to film compression. I usually turn that on. Now for video, when I'm editing my videos, this is a feature I always use within Dehancer. I'm always increasing the tonal range all the way to max. I slide it all the way to 100 almost every single time within videos on DaVinci. And then I'll slide the white point to the left until I bring back, so the shot doesn't look as flat and I have a bit more of that kind of contrasty lighting effect. So that tends to be the approach I take. With the photos, I haven't been doing that as often. I think just the way that the edits work from a photo versus my video, my raw videos, I don't find increasing the tonal range all the way gives me the results I want always. So I don't generally do this as often. This one looks not bad, so I'm going to keep it. One other thing I've noticed is the color density slider. There's a few color density sliders within Dehancer. When I increase the color density within DaVinci for my videos, it's almost like imperceptible, the effect of me changing the slider. But on photos, you can see here when I'm changing the color density, it's drastic. Like you can see a significant change, a noticeable change to how it affects the density of the colors. So that's also another tool that seems to be more powerful for photo edits as opposed to video edits. So let's say if I kind of like the look of this, then I turn on the print profile. And then and then I turn on the analog range limiter, so it kind of does a good job of removing or lifting up the blacks so that there isn't anything that's fully underexposed. And the Kodak Endura glossy paper, it's like one of kind of like 3 options I choose from usually. And I think this one tends to give me the most like natural look, like the most like a photo print look. Whereas the Kodak 2383 and the Fujifilm 3513, it gives a more creative look, I would say. So sometimes for wildlife, I prefer doing the Kodak Endura because it keeps the colors a little bit more natural to what you shot, as opposed to the 2 others I just mentioned, Kodak 2383 and the Fujifilm 3513. That's like a distinct, there's a distinct element to it, like a creative, I don't know how you call it. There's like a film look to it, you know what I mean? So it doesn't always work well for wildlife, because then now you're almost making, let's say you're making a lion look way too artistic, It's like whereas you normally want to retain a bit of the natural environment, natural colors and stuff like that. So I lean towards using Kodak Enduro more often with the wildlife. For a people shot like this, I lean towards using one of the fan favorites, right? The Kodak 2383 or the Fujifilm 3513. Fujifilm tends to give a bit more of a cooler tone across everything, and then the Kodak one's a little bit more like balanced, a bit more like warm and cool mixed in. Aviator says, this is gold. Can you please upload this dehancer tutorial section as a single video to your channel, please? I want to follow along when I get my dehancer trial. Oh man, you know what? I will, because you said so, I'm going to make a note of it somewhere. Where can I make a note of this? Hold on. I don't know how to do this. That is something I have in the backlog. At some point I do want, especially with my editor, I want to be able to kind of clip up more moments from my actual live stream as content itself. So I definitely need to do that. Jesus. Sorry, guys. Let me just write a note. Actually, I'm just going to write it in my freaking phone. But yeah, 100% Aviator. I'll see if I can cut this part out at some point. Because I think I did voice all of the key steps I take anyways. So I'm sure there's at least room to, make it a bit easier to digest. What is this? July 20th stream. Clip of my dehancer / Lightroom workflow. Boom. Thank you for leaving that comment, because sometimes you make videos if you think people want to see the video, and like a tutorial style thing is definitely one of those where I'm not just going to make it without knowing if people find value in it. So Fed says there's color density already in the film stocks and prints as well, different for different stocks. Okay, interesting. All I know is, look, I'm just explaining it from the layman's perspective as someone who just doesn't know. I'm just kind of sharing my, do I notice anything visibly? Is it, And visibly, that color density plays a key role within the photo editing software, but it doesn't necessarily do much from the video side. So that's like the one key distinction I have noticed as I've been playing with both. I like this Kodak 2383 look. And then, like I said, I've been applying a lot of grain. So the question now becomes, do I just lean into this 35 millimeter grain, or do I go with a bit more subtle 65 millimeter grain? The 65 has become like more of a neutral spot for me, whereas I think I want to be a bit braver and start to accept the bigger grain size, Because like a part of me always assumes I need to have the clean, glassy shots. But, if I'm going to lean into film emulation, then I think I need to lean into it. So I think we'll keep it. Halation, I haven't used the halation effect as often in photo edits as well. So similar, when I do a compare and contrast, halation generally looks pretty good in DaVinci for my video files. And it could also have something to do with maybe the raw quality of my video files compared to maybe however this gets transported from Lightroom. Maybe it's, it's like slightly different. But the way halation gets applied on the photo side, oftentimes it does feel a bit exaggerated. And I know obviously I can also, oh wait, no, can I? Yeah, I can reduce the halation style. So I can maybe dial it in a bit more to get it not so extreme. But like, generally speaking, I've been not using the halation as often for photos. The bloom, I think I use it every single time almost. I don't know why. I like this kind of glowy effect. It's really been growing on me to like apply this bloom on my photos. So that's definitely a check. Film damage, stuff like that, I don't really play around with. The overscan is more, I do it for some of the videos. At sometimes I'll apply it as like a visual effect. But for like what I'm doing, it's unnecessary, so I don't touch it. Vignetting is usually it's just like a touch and go. Sometimes there's a value to it. And then because I usually don't like a uniform vignetting. So then even if I apply vignette to the shot, I'll go back in and then I'll reapply a bit of light coming in from one of these directions to mimic the sun. So that's definitely something I'm going to do. So I might even keep the vignette here, but one thing I will change is usually I need to, I reduce the feathering so I can actually see where the hard line is. And you can see here, usually the vignette, this is the default. It's like this kind of circular style. I tend to prefer the wider aspect ratio to kind of match more of my landscape profile. So let's say if I kind of widen this out a bit and then I increase the size so it's a bit more fitting to the aspect ratio. And then once I kind of have a general sense like, okay, you know, it's kind of hugging the subject, then I'll bring back the feathering, right? Generally, I just bring the feathering all the way to 100. Honestly, it's just like there's like a moment where you feel like it's best, but I'm just like, whatever, man, I can't be bothered. So I just do it to 100. And then, yeah, let's say this is good enough. I move on. So I think we're going to keep this as is. So this is the final shot within Dehancer. Then I just hit OK, and it brings it all the way back into Lightroom, after which I can, you know, either just keep it as is, or I'll just apply some effects on top. So like I mentioned, one of the effects I want to apply on top is a bit of top light coming in from the top left here. So generally I do, it's kind of been fun to shape the light. And obviously you're manipulating the photo in a sense where, you know, you're adding more light in a certain area than was actually there. But that's part of the art. That's part of the pursuit, in my opinion. But I do my best to try to go with the grain, if that makes sense. So if I see here that the sun is clearly on the left because you see the shadows being cast over to the right, then that kind of will dictate most of the time that I probably want to apply some light coming in from the top left, right? Now, I already have these presets already designed. So I have one here for landscape, brighten, top left. So then immediately what it's doing is it's applying a bit of vignetting to the other corners, like a darkness to the other corners, but on the top left, it's a bit of the brightness. I've been having fun reapplying this myself though, but the presets are there. By the way, those presets are free. It's on my website. So if you ever just want to grab these for free, it's there. I don't promote myself enough. Fed says in Dehancer, you need to tinker a lot to get that halation looking good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so what do? I will generally just create like this linear gradient, and then I just drag it across. And sometimes I'll zoom out so I can play with it a bit more. I prefer, you know, kind of making this fairly enlarged so that the effect is softer and more like spread out across the image. So it's not as like intense in any direction. So then this, I just have the red overlay so I get a good sense of like, okay, where does the light touch? And then once I kind of have a good starting point, let's say it's here, it's pretty simple. All I do is I reduce the contrast all the way. So it kind of like, you know, by nature, I think contrast, what is it doing? It's like increasing the difference between the light and the dark elements of your photo. I'm probably butchering the actual, what it actually does. But yeah, so by now removing the contrast, you're just kind of flattening and you're kind of bringing the darkest and the lightest, brightest points of your image closer together. So it's a bit flatter, which is good because that's the effect I'm looking to get. And then the other step I do is I then increase the black slider all the way. So basically I'm just lifting the blacks, which also helps to flatten it out in that direction. And, you know, generally I wouldn't advise doing that, but why does it work for what I'm doing? Because I'm trying to mimic sunlight, and I'm trying to mimic hazy sunlight. And when you have like a foggy or hazy environment, generally speaking, it's doing exactly what you see here, right? It's like it's removing a lot of the contrast because the light is just bouncing off a uniform water particles in the sky or what. I don't know. I'm making shit up at this point, but the point is it flattens it out and it also kind of gives a brighter, a little brightness to everything. So these are usually the two things I will do. And then if I need to, sometimes I'll also reduce the dehaze. So instead of so I do the inverse of like dehazing the image. I kind of like we're hazing the image, I guess is maybe one way to say it. And so to see it extremely, you can see here, obviously, and then I'm just dialing it back until it's not too extreme. But the good thing is by using the linear gradient, it is obviously reducing the impact of what you're doing the farther away it goes from the center line in the direction that you pointed at. So that helps to give that feeling of a spotlight or sunlight coming from a direction. So let's say something like this is probably good enough. Usually I don't want to like make it too exaggerated. Just enough that it feels like it's kissing the tops of the subjects, kind of, you know? So like a bit on the where the light already is and around the edges of each subject. So I think this is probably good enough. We're going to crop in as well, so I don't want to go too crazy with it. So let's say that's good enough. Sometimes what I do then is I'll also do the exact same exercise on the other corners to amplify light on one side. So what do I mean? Let's say if I now do the opposite. So let's create the same thing, but on the other corners. And then now, I honestly, I just drop the exposure. So let's say if I drop it by like negative 1.5 or something like that. So then all it's doing is it's darkening up closer towards this corner. So then it does make the light coming from the top left a bit more obvious and amplified. And then same thing, if I do it on the other sides. Let's see if I drop it a little bit. And then the bottom right corner is already fairly dark, so I don't want to go too crazy on this side. Maybe I'll just drop the shadows a bit. Yeah, so this might be a little too much, but just to kind of lean into what I'm talking about. So let's say something like that. But like I said, the photo's not done because I do want to do some extra crops. And then sometimes I'll also just go through my presets again and see if something else kind of clicks. So this becomes like the new base. And from this base, do we want to, you know, add on top? Generally speaking, I think I'm good with what we've got. So let me just create a few versions of this. Like we said, we're going to create 3 versions actually. Version 1 will be the 16:9. And for the 16:9, like I said, I mean, it doesn't look half bad here. It's a bit too dark on the subject, so I'll probably have to lift that up in a second. But it does feel still like there's too much weight on the left. So I think even with the 16:9, it's probably all going to be the same composition. It's going to be like a bit of a punched in shot showing the subjects along the left axis, or what do you call it? Like the left pillar. So it's on the left third, whereas the subject in the background is around the top right third, right? So we'll try to balance it out this way. Now, it's not an exact science because like, even though this kind of looks like it should be right as is, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll feel like it's properly weighted because we have all of this dirt road in between that's curving to the right. So in some ways, it does feel like there's a bit more weight being put over here. So I can't really explain it, but sometimes you do have to just kind of break the rules a little bit until you feel like it feels balanced. And this is like literally just like you go off of your feelings, you know? And I go off of the thumbnail on the left. The thumbnail is so much easier to look at to feel comfortable with whatever you end up with. And then sometimes I might want to, maybe I'll want to punch in a bit more. Yeah, I think this looks not bad. Okay, so let's say something like this, maybe even more, because the subject is quite large. So I think the balance obviously is like, if we weight it too much on the left, it won't make too much sense. Okay, so now one thing here is we get a sliver of the sky, but it is with the grain effect, it doesn't like feel that crazy. So I think we're okay with this. Then let's do the same thing, but now instead of a 16:9, I want to do the 16:5. Now we're going crazy with it. And like I said, this has been growing on me as far as like the composition. I still think we're going to want to crop in quite a bit. And it's probably going to just follow the same thing. We want a shot where we're seeing a close-up of both the subject in the foreground and the background, almost like a face-off. Maybe something like this. And then the last one, this is the 2.4:1. This one I don't think we have to crop in as much. Okay. I'm sure I'll come back and revisit this, but generally speaking, I think I'm happy with this photo. So I'll play around a little bit more in terms of cleaning up the image a bit. Now, however, on the one side, I'm wondering if maybe adding the noise didn't make as much sense for this shot. And the reason being, as we crop in, it does kind of, the grain obviously gets enlarged because we are cropping in. So then it's like a bit more dramatic in terms of how it's showing up. So just to kind of test that out as a hypothesis, what I think I'll do is I'm going to re-edit this one in Dehancer. Now the beauty of Dehancer, right? At least, you know, there's some improvements like the batch edits or being able to remember what, or to be able to see the information of how you edited some of them in Dehancer previously. But the good news is it does save your last edits. So literally it should give me the exact same results. So I don't have to do any extra work. All I have to do is like, okay, let's just go back to this one and I'm just going to remove the film grain this time. So we're just going to keep it clean and then I'm going to export this. So it should be, hopefully, unless something crazy is happening, it should be the exact same effect, just without the grain. And then what I can do is we're going to create 3 versions of this. This is kind of annoying to do, but we're going to crop. We're going to copy over the crop, and I'm just going to mimic each one. Copy. Bring it in, and last one, copy. And where'd you go? Oh, shoot. I messed it up. This one. Copy to that one. Copy to this one. Okay. Cool. So I think this is correct. I think I needed to remove the grain. I can always apply some grain back in afterwards, but I think because we end up zooming in and cropping in a bit more, the grain ends up actually kind of ruining the shot a bit. So I think we're happy with this. The only thing I mentioned is maybe I do want to add in a bit of shadow, not too crazy, just so his back is a little bit more visible. Yeah, something like this. Okay. And then we have to reapply my masking. I forgot. Merge. There we go. And then I forgot also. Here, let's just copy all this again. Replace. And replace. Cool. Okay, so I think this is kind of where we'll stop with it. Not to say that this is the final image, but it's good enough that I feel comfortable with it, and then I'll do some fine tuning later. But for now, I think we're fine. Cool. Man, that was a bit longer. All right, next one. Same image-ish. Oh yeah, so this will be a fun one. I think there's an angle here. I just got to choose which of these are best. So my driver / guide, Milton, he was explaining that in Uganda, culturally or societally, like certain women will sit on these. This is like it's like the taxi bikes or something. But the way they sit on the back seat reflects something culturally or societally. I just don't remember what exactly he said. Okay, I think this shot looks good in terms of like the perspective, right? We're getting a bit low angle. We get a nice separation of the subject from the background. Unfortunately, she's not looking at the camera though, or off to the side. But the separation's better, you know? Whereas here, the problem is we have, you know, in front of the subject, it's mostly dirt. So like the angle is not as good to be able to get the subject cleanly. But she is looking at the camera here-ish. Or in this one, once I lift the shadows, I think It's not a perfect side profile, but she's kind of looking off to the side. That could work as well. Yeah, I think we're gonna lean towards the one where they're towards the higher up. I think this one just looks cleaner. Yeah, these two. All right, we're gonna work on these two. And keep watching this video now. Okay, so as I'm kind of experimenting with the croppings, I feel like for a moment, I might still do this, but there was some angles where it looked nice with the subjects on the far right side of the image, and then having the trees kind of add some color and texture to the left. But part of me also likes seeing the shadow of this bike. Like there's something nice about if we keep the full frame or the full subject in frame, the shadow does add a bit of weight and direction. And depending on how we play with the lights, it could actually play a bigger role in terms of how the shot looks. So I'm leaning towards maybe it should be more something like this, where the shadow actually plays into it a bit more prominently. And this is with the 2x3. I'm curious if I can fit it with the 16x9. It might be a little too tight to do 16x9 for this. Yeah. There's just not enough headspace or at the bottom. Unless we, you know, expand the image, which I'm not opposed to, but for now I think I want to keep it as natural as possible. Let's see if a 4x3 could look nice. Oh, the 4x3 is an I don't think I do any 4x3 for landscape. But hey, now's the time. At least here it does keep the cropping as we want it to. So, I might retain that. But for now, let me just do it in 2x3, because then we can always crop from there. So we'll do the full version, like a full size version first, and then crop in. Yeah, we'll do it from here and then crop later. Fed says, feel free to skip around. It's a long video. I mean, I like the music choice too. So it's a nice, like, soothing. I think I'm leaning towards the punchy elephant as the base, because the colors look pretty poppy here. And then we can change the background a bit later. Hells yeah. Man, good. You always pick the right music, man. I will say that. How are you liking the ZR, by the way? Any buyer's remorse, or you're pretty comfortable with the quality so far? I have my answer, obviously, but understanding visual literacy.
A few years back,
Gear doesn't matter, but this one thing does. Okay, that's a big sell. Being a projectionist for the Odyssey in 70 millimeters. Ooh. That's kind of cool. How to make your lighting look natural. Cinematography breakdown. I can learn from that.
I've never...
Peter McKinnon. Canon is going to fire me. I think we'll watch Peter McKinnon because it's Peter McKinnon. All right, let's check this out. Fed says, no, I have no issues with it. Hells yeah.
Done this before in the entirety of the time I've had this channel. Typically, we make sponsored videos for brands. They pay us. Not all brands pay you, but some brands pay you. You make a video, they give you money, the end. Very rarely do you see people do follow-up videos about the same camera if they're not being paid to. But this one particularly has been so interesting to me, this Insta360 Luna, that I felt like there was more questions that I needed answered for myself. And I thought, if I have them, you probably have them. And typically, maybe I'd get paid to make another one of these, but I just wanted to make another one because I genuinely think this camera it's confusing and
it's not about the money always. I'm curious. I feel like I've seen a decent amount of those reviews, and it seems like they're all epic cameras. But I'm still probably leaning towards getting the Osmo Pocket because I'm fully bought into DJI at this point, right? Like in terms of the action camera stuff that I have.
exciting, but I need more. I need to understand more. This is not sponsored by Insta360. It's sponsored by nobody. I want to further test this thing.
He's like me.
Are and what its capabilities are beyond a travel vlog in Italy, where of course that looks good because it's Italy. Everything looks good. But like, could it work as a main angle? What I'm doing right now. And for the entirety of the time I've had this channel, I've had pretty big main angle setups. We're talking C80s or R5.2s, you know, big microphones, boom mics, multiple lights and lenses and monitors to watch the footage, and it's been a thing. It always takes up like quite a large footprint in a studio. But could you just do this? Could you just set up this Luna on a tripod, have a wireless mic, and actually rip a main angle style video with nothing else? And to me, this blows my mind that we could be at a stage in content creation where this would actually work for an application like this. Now, you're not going to get as much depth into the background of a shot because you're only using the wide angle lens here, but it does have two lenses. One of the things I also don't like is the screen shuts off. Like after a minute, the screen goes dark and I have no idea what I'm looking at, if I'm even still recording, which I am. If I zoom in, because this thing has two lenses on it, so if I go to the second lens.
That is kind of crazy, man, because the quality that he's popping out here in the video is actually pretty damn good. So if that's like from an action camera, I mean, it's good news for me as well, as I'm getting closer to testing out the live stream concept. As a fallback, I would love to just be able to shoot the live stream with like a bunch of Nikon ZRs. But as a fallback, if I have to use like a Osmo Pocket or even an iPhone, I think it is possible now. We've seen some other streamer do that in Masai recently. Always nice to have compression options like that. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind a red raw flavor with the lower bit rate, like the NRAW. Yeah, fair enough. I think they know that.
Stick this camera on like an Apple box to give myself more height. Like, would you get more depth out of a shot like this now using that secondary lens, and does it still look as sharp and as clean? So this is a little bit of an experiment at the same time, but I want to use this camera in several scenarios that I typically find myself in as a creator to see if it passes the tests of all of them. Now, so far, a travel vlog, it passed the test. That was great. I loved the footage. I was very happy with it. But can it still be used when I come back home in a normal setting? So this shot is an example of how I would need to use a camera when I'm here, not doing anything travel related. And how does that look? And beyond this, I still want to see how it looks mounted inside a vehicle, mounted to a vehicle. I think the more of these tests that I can do and the more information I can gather about this camera is going to help me figure out what's better to use these days to make content, and then I can properly communicate that to you at home. So let's put this up against a few other cameras real quick to see how drastic of a change it actually is. Okay, so this is an R5 with a 15 to 35 millimeter lens, 2.8, shooting at 1/50th as well. ISO set to these same settings with the same light. However, I am using a shotgun mic, still using the original. At this point, I've gone to what I find has been the most consistent for me is the Rode Video Pro. Just like the OG Rode mic that I vlogged all the years with earlier. It still works, still sounds great, albeit it's huge. It seems to do the job just well. So Look at the background. The difference is when you zoom into a shot like this, like, I have to probably adjust this so I'm in frame. Let's see here. This shot is probably more filmic because of the larger sensor from an R5 full frame sensor. Right now, if I had an even better cinema camera and we lit this even with more care, that's when you start to get into like real filmmaking, where nothing even looks lit at all. It just looks great and your mind doesn't even go to where the light source is. This is obviously very like YouTube-y and the light is coming from like, it's obvious. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust this. We're using an R5 Mark II here. Like this is a way more expensive camera. And this is also shooting log and I've colored it. I'm also curious to see what like an outlier camera looks like. The Leica Q3 shoots video. I gotta know. Why not? All right, so this is the Leica Q3, but I'm using the audio, if you've noticed, from the Luna because this doesn't have a mic jack and I don't have any other mics right now that are USB-C that I could plug in. I don't want to do the whole, it's just easier. But knowing that this would probably be a little more effort to rig up some audio for, which is why this was the lowest friction. Again, to just like roll a BTS shot on the Q3 itself and steal the audio from the Luna. So that's kind of another point. I would never probably just think off the hop to use this camera for any main angle stuff. I don't think you buy a Q3 for the video. I think you buy it for photos. And even still, if you do buy a Q3, this is just probably not anything you would think to use it for. It was just here on the table. I had to know what it would look like. It's an expensive camera with very good glass. How does it stack? All right, now this is the V1. Did a video on this last week. This is shooting C-Log 3. The V1 has a much wider lens than that of the Q3, so it's closer to the R5. Field of view is very, very good. I've personally found that this camera on full auto, as far as picture goes, gives the best looking picture. So still shooting in manual, not log, standard color profile, bam. I feel like auto mode is immediately associated with beginners and people that don't know how to use cameras, and it is if you are a beginner and don't know how to use camera. But there might be some benefit to also throwing something in auto mode here and there, even if you do know how to use cameras. This is kind of a case in point. Can some of these cameras that I don't consider, or that are much cheaper, or that people would scoff at and not think are good enough to do the job that I need them to do, can they do it? This is part of that. You've seen Luna footage, you've seen R5 footage, you've seen Q3 footage, now you're seeing V1 footage. That is a massive, massive swing in cost from $1,000 to like almost $10,000. You've seen all of that now in the span of 10 minutes. So what do you think? You saw a couple cameras. You've seen the Luna here as a main angle with one light, a lantern, by the way. Like, look, I can even just pick this up and show you. Like, that is the only way I'm lighting this. It is nothing crazy. There are no hair lights. There are no fill. There's just one key. That's it. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below on this, truly. Like, do you think in 2026 it still makes sense to set up a shot like this with multiple cameras, multiple lights, off-camera audio, just all of the bells and whistles and all the things? Like, does it really move the needle anymore as far as how content is consumed in 2026? Or is something like this enough?
I mean, part of me wants to say it's not enough, but then I can also understand, like, every generation kind of says that, and technology does get better and better. Fed says the problem with the auto mode is it also does noise reduction. The Luna gets very soft looking when doing that. I'm not sure if you can now turn it off. It was always on. That could also be a firmware, right? So I'm assuming maybe that's easily fixable, hopefully. So, but if I'm looking at his quality, man, just like look at the shot. If that shot with the Insta360, then that means a lot more people. It's like way more affordable to make this kind of content easily, right? Which should be encouraging to everyone, because it's like, hey, it just means more of us enter this type of market. It's less gate kept, right? You no longer do you need to spend thousands of dollars and have all the proper lighting to be able to, you know, create some cinematic YouTube style videos. That's crazy. I mean, he's got the luxury of everything else that he's doing, but like if he's just using an Insta360 whatever, plus one lantern light, that's damn good.
If you're seeing the creator or the person that you enjoy watching online more because this is accessible, faster, and an easier, less friction way to get content out? Or does it still make a difference when that video that you clicked on loads and it looks insane? The lighting is perfect. There's a slash of light behind. They've got a spotlight, a hair light, a catch light for the eyes, the key light. Everything looks so natural. You can't even tell it was lit. It's colored beautifully. The background is creamy smooth, and it is just chef's kiss perfection. Does that add any more than this is doing right now? I'm genuinely curious at what you think of that, because that's kind of where I'm finding myself. I have the means to make those shots happen, but I'm gravitating more to this kind of thing because it's just letting me get my thoughts out faster, and that's just more important to me right now. So what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Luna main angle, R5, V1. We live in some crazy times. There's no more excuses. And it's great. It's great. How else do you want to see me use this camera? I feel like we need to continue testing. What you got?
Thank you, Peter McKinnon. Photography Jesus. I didn't know his hair was that long. What's next? What's next? Neuro. Oh, we gotta. Oh, we need Cyronius for this. I'm assuming he watched it already. Gawk's Art, the ultimate video breakdown.
One day
The Japanese philosophy that changed my life.
It's been a year.
Unapproved Netflix camera that swept the Emmys. Okay. Ooh, that's pretty long though. Is there a quicker watch? Okay, let's watch this one because I'm almost done with this one and we're past 10 p.m. Let's see. The tracking is pretty cool on Luna and Osmo if you film yourself and want to move around. Yeah, even with the Osmo Pocket 3, it's been pretty good. We tested it in the first trip I took it out with. That thing's pretty good. So I can only imagine it's getting better. I just need to figure out. At some point, I am getting the Osmo Pocket 4. I got to see how I can reach out to the DJI team and see if I can get a discount or help me out, help a brother out. Tracking's pretty... Oh, yeah, I read that. Okay.
I sold my red Monstro, and about 4 months after selling the Monstro, I didn't own a cinema camera at all, unless you count the FX3 and FX6. Now, the 3 and 6 were doing the job for me at that time, and I think something that surprised me during that season was work didn't necessarily slow down or get worse. By and large, it kind of kept the same pace. Now, I want to be careful here because I don't want to sit here and say that gear doesn't matter at all, because I believe that it does. I just believe that gear matters a little bit less than the emphasis that we put on it at times. Anybody that tells you that gear doesn't matter at all, it probably isn't telling you the whole truth, or maybe is trying to sell you something. Now, somewhere along the way of this journey of filmmaking, a lot of us started using gear as a stand-in for skill. The more gear that we have, the comfier our security blanket is. If I just had the Venice, if I just had the Raptor, if I just had whatever is on that list. And I get it because I've thought that too. I think that there's an argument that gear solves problems, and it's for solving problems on set. I still buy a lot of gear to solve problems on set. Early on in my career, I remember sitting in B&H, and I remember looking at the Blackmagic pocket camera, the original one, thinking that this thing was going to help me land more projects. But now, after a decade, I think that that's a little bit backwards. Gear doesn't cover for much of anything. I think it just gives a weaker eye or a less experienced filmmaker a more expensive way to be wrong. That's actually part of why I built CineTemp in the first place. If you're new here, I was on a tourism shoot. We were country hopping, we had a lot of locations, and I needed something faster to get the Kelvin values of each location. Whenever you're on a tourism shoot, it's similar to a documentary. You can have a ton of locations in a day, in a week, whatever that might be, but carrying and juggling one less piece of gear is exponentially helpful. And since launching CineTemp, it's been #1 in the photo video section of the App Store, which is really cool because it just shows and reinforces the idea that CineTemp is a valuable tool to a lot of filmmakers. CineTemp gives you CCT values, ND values, exposure meter, sun tracker, all kind of in one app. But none of that replaces the understanding of light. It's a fast, useful reference for people that already understand it. An app doesn't make you a better DP, but knowing what to do with those numbers and let it just be a tool that aids you and helps you be more efficient does. And that's the whole point I'm trying to make today. The tool itself should never be a replacement for the skill. It should just be an aid for the skills that you already have. Now, I want to tell you about a shoot that I did in Hawaii. I was shooting a national spot for a company, Seahome, at a location, and it was phenomenal. But whenever I got in the water, there was some pretty good swells. I remember going in thinking these waves are a little bit bigger than I was anticipating. And now I'm a certified diver. I had a master diver with me there.
I've
as
used
a
this
safety,
soundtrack
so it wasn't
before.
necessarily stronger than I was comfortable with. But
Although I don't know if I have
whenever you
access
mix
to it
that with
anymore.
filmmaking and trying to get shots, there's a lot of variables you have to consider. Now, all that context kind of in mind, I shot this entire spot on the FX3 with a Rokinon autofocus lens. Not the world's flashiest camera or lens combination. We had bigger cameras at our disposal, but the size made it manageable for the water scenes that we were shooting. And for me, it wasn't that I was just necessarily wanting to shoot.
Okay, I can't figure out this final framing, but I think honestly we're probably going to stick to the first two. So I think I'll do a bit more. What did I even choose here? A 4x5. I haven't done a 4x5 framing before in a landscape mode. I think this is the first time I'm doing it, but something about this feels right just because we got the shadow that kind of cuts across to the right. So yeah, I think lean left with the subjects. And then the second framing, I was just playing around. I don't even know what I used. 16:9 on this one. It's an interesting framing. I don't know how to feel about it, but there's enough texture and weirdness in the background, blending in with the cool tealish sky tones. And then there's enough texture in that bottom right corner to hopefully add a bit of a balance. It feels like an almost balanced shot. It's like abnormally balanced, but somewhat there. But yeah, it's obviously a bit propped in, so it's not like a full picture, but I don't know. It's a bit more on the abstract side, but I'm leaning towards these two as the ones we stick with. This one, unfortunately, it's just hard to figure out with the super wide angles to be able to still maintain enough of the subject and then have enough something in the background itself. So I don't know. It's definitely on the creative touch, but I like these two probably. We'll stick with that. Fed says the tracking is actually pretty good on the Osmo 1 as well. Okay, they already solved that stuff with their drones when you set them to follow you, I guess. Oh, yeah, that's true. I feel like DJI's got it on lock, so no surprises there. Okay, I think this is the last photo I'm editing today. So what do we still have left from the drive? We've got one of these banana bike shots, probably one of these closer shots here, probably this one. It looks fairly sharp, so we'll cut in on this. Then we've got this other dude with more bananas. So I think I'll play with this side profile. This is going to be a fun one to edit. And then we have one from behind when he passed us. So probably one of these. And then we got some locals on a... oh my god. I'm just noticing. Is this like a two-wheeler? I don't understand. How is this thing it must be a tricycle style or a tri-wheel. And we just can't see the third wheel somewhere, right? Because there's no shot this could be balanced otherwise. Dang it. So we'll do that one. One of these kids waving. Herd of goats. One of these shots for sure when the kids were playing on this like makeshift bicycle thing. Then as we pass this dude on his bike. Some kids in the background. One of these crazy. Okay, so we got plenty still to go before we get to the gorillas. So all of these shots, and then eventually, yeah, and then we're finally at. This is the lodge that I stay at, Karingo Gorilla Bundi Lodge. And then we're going to get into gorilla territory. So probably that's like 2 streams away in terms of how much we've still got remaining to like edit. So, but then we'll get to the gorillas. That'll be fun. Okay, so key things I want to remind you guys of is I have released my latest YouTube video. It is episode 1 of a travel series that I'll be pushing out hopefully every week. It just depends. I'm working with my editor, so just we'll see how it goes. But right now, we're aiming to push these out fairly frequently. So I'm excited for you guys to watch. The first episode, it's not going into any of the crazy travel adventures just yet. I allude to it. I've made some nice trailer moments to kind of give you a taste of a flavor of what the trip was like. But it's also, this one breaks down more of the actual gear, the context, and also the gear that I shot with. So you'll see like my camera perspective when I'm putting it all together, my thought process behind why I had the cotton carrier with this camera and this mount and how I think it's going to work. And then, yeah, a little bit of Munich because that's where I kind of tested it all out. So I hope you guys check it out. Make sure to leave a comment or do the usual YouTube stuff. I always appreciate it. And then look forward to the next videos, of course. And like I said, one thing I'm doing on the side is I'm just trying to figure out what format works for this kind of photo editing workflow so that I can push these out as like YouTube shorts or Instagram stuff. I'm not sure yet, so bear with me. But hopefully if I do, just I have to keep, I tend to strive for perfection too often, which means I don't make any progress. There's got to be some saying about that, like perfection and progress, right? They're both P alliteration stuff. But the point is, in the pursuit of perfection, I tend to never take a step forward because I'm waiting for perfection. And that's a vice of mine, or it's something that I need to correct. I make corrections here and there to be more just put shit out. You know, it doesn't have to be anywhere near perfect, but just by the act of doing something, you are progressing and improving, hopefully. So reminder for myself. Anyways, so I'll be working on those things. But otherwise, it is now 10:20. I'm going to have a late dinner. I'm going to hang out with my cats. But thank you guys. I appreciate another fun stream. It was good to see some friendly faces. Fed, it's good to have you back. But yeah, thank you guys. And I will be back tomorrow for another stream. So, all right. Any parting words? I think that's it. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.